Okay, what you're going to want to do is you're going to start off at the beginning with having these sides rolled down like this. And you can just roll it all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to begin to fill it with soil. And as you fill it with soil, you can slowly roll the edges up, and you're also, what you're going to want to do is you dump it in, you're going to want to spread your hand around in a circular motion to try and spread the soil to the outside parts of the bag. So the outside parts of the planter you're actually going to want to make sure are really cylindrical and that the whole planter sits upright. Another thing is if it starts to get lopsided, you can just pat it like this, and you can pull up on the sides if you want, just to make sure that it gets into a nice cylindrical shape so it's not lopsided and leaning over on one side. And depending on what type of soil you use, some soil is going to be clumpier than others. Peat moss tends to be really easy to work with. Some soil is a little bit more dense, and you're going to have really big balls of soil that come into it or come in with it, and you're just going to want to put your hands in there and just break it up and crush it up, and then spread it around just like this, and make sure that you're pushing it to the outside part of the bag so it makes a nice even shape, and then you can just kind of tap it in place like this. And once you get to the point where you're going to be a couple inches from the soil line, maybe 8, 6, 4, depending on the size of planter you get, you're then going to take your perforated tube like this, and you're just going to stick it in the center. Just give it 1 or 2 twists so that'll stay still. Make sure it's upright and even with the center of the planter. And your perforated watering tube is just going to sit there like this. You can slowly roll the edges up and fill more soil around it until you're about at the top of the planter. And that's where you're going to put your fertilizer and your water in here. Okay, now here's the watering tube sticking out the top. We've got it all filled up with soil, and we already put a tomato plant in here on one of the top slits. And I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to take a plant and plant it in there. Okay, you're going to get Jiffy pellets that are going to come with these, and you can start some plants in the Jiffy pellets, or you can buy plants from the store that are already pre-established. Now, when you start them at Jiffy pellets, you want to make sure that the plants are grown a little bit so that when you put them in here they don't break, and you do not want to put the seeds directly in here. I mean, potentially you could, but what can happen is the seeds can actually grow up here and they actually won't come out. So that's why you're giving the Jiffy pellets. But if you do want to use store-bought plants like this one, all you need to do first is you're going to want to make a hole to put the roots in, the Jiffy pellets or the roots of the plant. And you want to come down at an angle, okay? Not straight down, but not straight inside either. You want to come down at an angle so the plant kind of comes out like this, okay? So all you're going to do is, now you can collect the soil if you want and put it back on the top. Just take your 2 fingers and just dig them in there and grab some of the soil out. Dig them in, grab some of the soil out, put it back on top. Dig it in, grab some of the soil out, put it on top. And the great thing also about these planters is that there will be tons of life in here. We have tons of earthworms that actually grow right up through the top and eat the soil, and it's just alive and it breaks down all the matter, and it's really a living, awesome garden. So once you get your fingers down there and you dig out a hole deep enough, you might need to dig it deeper and wider depending on the plants. Like this tomato plant right here is a little bit bigger than this one. So essentially what you're going to do is you do not need to worry about hurting these plants too much. You can just pop them out through here, and it's alright if some of the roots come off. You can even, if you like, take it by the base and just shake some of the dirt off, or a lot of the dirt off. If some of the roots break off, not a big deal. And you can try to shove as much of the root mass as you want into here. Don't worry about damaging some of the roots. So you can kind of play with it so you get the angle. If it's out sticking like this, you can just push your fingers down and kind of manipulate it. And now here we have an empty space in here that we need to fill in behind the root mass. You'll be able to feel with your fingers. It's an open air pocket. You do want to fill that in. You can either fill it in by putting more soil back in there, like this, and packing it around it, or you can just hit it with your palm on top and around, and the soil will actually work its way down and fill that gap in. You can try and assist by sticking your finger in and pulling some down from above it. And every time you do that, you want to pat the planter all the way to the top. That way the soil on the top will work its way back down to that spot, so you don't have an open air pocket. So, okay. And then you can stick your finger in a little bit, make sure that it's pretty filled in around the root mass, make sure that the roots are filled up, and there you go. This thing is going to grow huge.